So, you want to make a ranged paladin? Well, the name of the game there would be Branding Smite. Unfortunately, by default, Branding Smite is pretty terrible, consuming an action, bonus action, level 2 spell slot minimum, and our concentration for some reason, all while doing less damage than a level 1 Divine Smite. In spite of these things, it is still classified as a spell, which means we can do some things to it to make it more powerful. The final setup will have Branding Smite hitting harder than an equivalent level Divine Smite, and it can be cast twice per turn without Thief Investment. Now, the build I'll be showcasing today is heavily thematic, revolving around the theme of fire. Fire is integral to the build, but the actual synergies that allow this to function only have a few requirements. Everything besides that is strictly for the theme. The full build will be in the description, as well as the most important parts highlighted, so you know exactly what you need if you want to tweak this character to your own personal preferences. Anyways, let's get into it. For the levels, a quick overview: this is going to be 5 Paladin, 1 Fighter, 6 Caster, aka any class that normally gets level 6 spell slots at level 11. Paladin, of course, for Branding Smite and extra attack, Fighter for the archery fighting style since Paladins don't have access to it, and Caster for extra spell slots. One thing to be aware of here is with Branding Smite, Paladins normally don't have access to level 4 or above spell slots. So when you go to upcast it to that level, the game will be confused. It will try and revert it back to a level 2 spell slot. Fortunately, this is only a visual glitch. The actual damage calculation will involve the full amount of additional damage from whatever level you upcast it to, so you don't need to worry about that. It does not affect the build in any way. For the Paladin subclass, you're going to want Oath of Vengeance. This has an important feature at level 3. Abilities: 17 Dexterity, 15 Constitution, and 16 Charisma. I'm taking Sorcerer as my caster levels, but if you want to do something else like Abjuration Wizard for extra defense, or Light Domain Cleric for some AoE potential, make sure to put these points elsewhere. Level 2, our first fighting style, gonna grab Defense. And level 3, we get the class feature Vow of Enmity. This is going to help out a lot with making sure our attacks land after acquiring Sharpshooter, since we'll have advantage on all attack rolls if we self-cast this. Very important to the build. Level 4, our first feat, gonna grab the aforementioned Sharpshooter for an extra 10 damage. And level 5, we get extra attack and Branding Smite, which concludes the Paladin levels. Level 6, multi-class with Fighter, grab Archery. And level 7, multi-class with your Caster. I'm going with Draconic Bloodline. Any Ancestor with Fire as its element is fine. This will synergize with the build. Since I don't care about the spell, I'm just going to grab Gold for the aesthetic, and for the spells, Shield and perhaps Magic Missile if you want, although it doesn't matter too much. For the cantrips, since this is a fire build, I'm going to grab Firebolt, Booming Blade for a melee option, and then Minor Illusion and Friends for some extra utility. Level 8, another spell which doesn't matter, and for the meta magic, unfortunately none of these work too well with Branding Smite. Twin Spell and Distance Spell, not at all. Extended Spell could have some potential if you're trying to apply a condition with this. Careful Spell, I don't really see a reason for. I am going to grab Distant Spell to pair with the ranged theme of the build, and Twin Spell for cantrips like Firebolt. Level 9, another spell, Scorching Ray, and for the next meta magic, Quicken Spell, of course. Fun fact, when you quicken Branding Smite, it uses 2 bonus actions. Level 10, gonna grab Shocking Grasp, and Mirror Image. For the feat, ability improvement, even out Dexterity and Constitution. Level 11, access to level 3 spells, Fireball. And level 12, Counter Spell. We will also get the subclass feature from Draconic Bloodline, Elemental Affinity Damage, and with the gear setup, this damage will be added to Branding Smite. And now onto the most important part, the equipment. I'll do an overview first, and then break these things down by synergy. So, all the items include Pyroquickness Hat, Cindermoth Cloak, any armor that has magical plate, Spellmight Gloves, Cinder Shoes, Amulet of Elemental Torment, Callous Glow Ring of Elemental Infusion, Marco Heshkir, Shield of Scorching Reprisal, Gaunter Mail, the Drakethroat Glaive, Mysterious Potion, and potentially the Gloves of the Automaton. All this stuff will be in the description. Now for the most important parts. How to make Branding Smite more powerful and use it twice per turn. To boost its damage, simply all you need is the Spellmight Gloves. Since it is a spell, it will gain additional damage. Better yet, it is a split damage spell between Piercing and Radiant, which means that 1d8 will double dip, 1d8 going into Piercing and 1d8 into Radiant. It doesn't scale the same as Divine Smite, but with this, it will have an additional damage die over it. The cherry on top here is that it uses your weapon attack roll, so the -5 penalty from Spellmight is completely negligible. Now, how to cast it twice per turn? Well, for that, we need a bonus action. Enter the Pyroquickness Hat and the Drakethroat Glaive. The Pyroquickness Hat states that when you deal fire damage with a leveled spell, burn yourself and gain an additional bonus action. Keywording here, deal fire damage with a leveled spell. Doesn't say anything about dealing damage with a fire spell. All you need to do is add fire damage to the spell itself. And for that, Drakethroat Glaive, put fire damage on your bow and you're good to go. That will meet the conditions for activating Fiery Return, and you can now cast Branding Smite twice per turn. So that's the main build, functionality covered. Now let's add some other flavor to it. Heat. Since this is a fire build, we have 3 methods. Number 1 is combining the Cindermoth Cloak with the Cinder Shoes. Anyone that hits us within 2 meters will be burned, and the Cinder Shoes will give us heat every time we burn an enemy. Second method is with the Amulet of Elemental Torment and the Mysterious Potion. Fair warning, this thing is a massive pain to get. Unfortunately, Larian put it in the worst place possible. Hope's inventory. Now, you can't just leave her behind in prison, you actually have to bring her to the Raphael fight. You may or may not be able to pickpocket it from her, I don't quite remember, it's been a while since I did that. What I normally do is beat Raphael and then either knock her out or kill her, and then you can get this amulet. So I just want to really drive this point. You do not need this item for the build, okay? It's literally just for extra flavor. What this thing does is when you're standing in a surface, it applies that surface's condition to your spell damage. That includes AoEs, spells with saving throws, and spells with attack rolls, basically anything. Now, this only seems to work with fire, acid, caustic brine, and poison. It doesn't work with ice or electricity, which is unfortunate, but for the purposes of the build, we'll be able to light enemies on fire with our arrows. We do need fire surfaces, and for that, simply consume the Mysterious Potion. This will make our blood unstable, and when that comes in contact with fire, it will ignite. Since we'll be on fire a lot because of the Pyroquickness Hat, you're basically going to constantly have fire surfaces. And the last method for acquiring heat is, of course, Marco Heshkir. Now, Marco Heshkir is literally just on this build because it looks cool. Your bow is on fire, your hands are on fire. What's not to love? Okay, but I understand that not everyone's going to want to do that. Other good options include Knife of the Undermountain King for better crits, or Rhapsody for higher damage and attack rolls. Whatever you want, but you're not going to beat Marco Heshkir when it comes to pure aesthetic. Do what you will, this is just my preference here. It will give you access to Firewall and Fireball per short rest, which is really great for extra versatility. Wall of Fire is an incredible opener, especially with Distant Spell. You can create a massive wall of fire. If you're playing co-op, you can tell your friends, hey, my wall of fire is bigger than yours, and then whip it out. For the bow, I've gone with Gaunter Mail. It will add extra radiant damage after using Bolt of Celestial Light, but you could use the Titanstring bow for higher damage overall when consuming an Elixir of Cloud Giant Strength, or even the Dead Shot, which will have better attack rolls with advantage due to its passive Keen Attack, plus better crits overall. Now for the final synergy, this is my absolute favorite, and that is the Ring of Elemental Infusion. Just like Draconic Bloodline extra damage and the Pyroquickness Hat, this thing will be triggered as well by turning Branding Smite into a fire spell. So you will get that Elemental Infusion. The best part is its combo with the Shield of Scorching Reprisal. I suppose because this thing sits in a weapons slot, the class action Blazing Retaliation will get extra damage from Elemental Infusion. It is normally 1d6 to any attacker that messes you with melee. Now it is 1d6 plus an additional 1d4, which isn't too crazy, but it is up to 10 damage with extra attack that can really stack up. And then for the second ring, Callous Glow Ring is going to add 2 damage to basically all sources of our damage, which can really stack up quite quickly. And the Gloves of the Automaton is strictly another way to get advantage on attack rolls. As a hot swap, I would not wear this during combat. Spellmight's power is unmatched on this build. Anyways, that concludes the equipment and the video, so thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below. Peace out.